And to diminish it, that it is your fault for not coming forward and not pressing any charges, is so incredibly fucking damaging. Every single person has been verbally harassed by a man at least once. Stop excusing male behaviour, because they still have a responsibility for getting that person pregnant. She thinks women shouldn't vote. She, as a white woman, didn't find another white man to be racist. And to allow somebody like that with such damaging views onto your podcast is a choice. I guess so. Today's video, I am going to react to the interview that Pearl, still don't know her fucking last name, did with two guys from the UK. I got through half of this video and had to stop because I was getting so aggravated. So I haven't finished the whole interview, but I thought we'd watch through it, break down the parts that I think are really damaging and harmful towards women and survivors and just people in general. So let's go. I can't believe I'm doing this to myself. I'm going to skip through the who is Pearl part because we already know who she is. Oh, Pearl Davis. I didn't know her last name. Before we even get into this, the reason I even knew this interview existed is because someone clipped the part where she says that she didn't think that someone who is clearly fucking racist was racist just because they were a nice person to her. Jesus. I'm starting at 5 minutes 58, so if I miss anything, I apologise. If you want to go watch it, I'll link this video below. It is by, I apologise, I forgot to mention, TRIGGERnometry.
I just think men aren't allowed to have standards in society, and that's just like the one thing I noticed. Like whenever men say that they want something in a relationship, like women always shame them for it. And I just thought it was so interesting how we never like talk about the men's point of view.
She also shames women for having standards and not expecting a man to cheat on her podcast. So I'd love to hear an example of this BS.
Right, so men are shamed for having standards. What do you mean by that? Let's just unpick that a little bit.
Okay, so what do we have? We have fat shaming. If a guy says, I want a girl in shape, oh, he's fat shaming.
I know she puts it way harsher on her podcast. We literally talked about it in my last video. So I heard this before with the trans people, with people who are bigger, people from different ethnic backgrounds, for example. I have seen and heard that people have said that if you're not attracted to someone from a different ethnic background than you are racist. I've heard that if you are not attracted to someone who is overweight, then you are fat phobic. I have heard that, not to me specifically, I'm just saying in general, I've seen these kind of posts around. I've seen that someone saying that if they wouldn't consider dating someone who is trans, they are transphobic. I have heard these things before, for women and for men. And I also disagree with them. I think that you are attracted to who you are attracted to, whether it is that you prefer personally someone who is slimmer. There are people that prefer people who are bigger. There are literally people who have kinks of people who have different size, shape, like if they have an arm missing or from a birth defect or an accident or whatever. Like, people are attracted to loads of different things. It's a bit like expecting everyone to like the same makeup or the same food. Everyone has different preferences. It is literally a preference. It is not because you are fat phobic or transphobic or racist. It is nothing to do with that. So yes, on that specific point, I agree that people are allowed preferences. The way that they verbalize those preferences, though, can be transphobic, racist, or fat phobic. It depends on how they verbalize it.
Oh, if a guy says, I don't want the town whore, you know.
If it's going to be this bad, I don't know how fucking far I'm going to get through this video. That is the sort of misogynistic language I'm talking about. Saying the town whore, that is such a outdated way of talking, first of all. That's like something you would say 50, 100 years ago. Secondly, what the fuck do you consider a whore anyway? Are you just saying that someone who is single and who sleeps around is a whore? Because if you are single and you are having sex with multiple people, how is that a whore? You are both single. Most people's definition of a whore is someone who expects you to pay for sex, for example. I'm not saying that that's my definition.
Then he's slut shaming.
Again, like, what is a slut? Is someone who cheats on someone considered a slut or a whore? Is it someone who has multiple sex partners? Is it someone who has an STD? Like, what is her definition? I know already, I guarantee that she expects that all three of those are going to be considered sluts or whores. That is because I believe she has a lot of internalized misogyny.
Like, anytime a guy demands something out of a relationship or he's labeled as controlling, And I just got, oh my gosh, I got so tired.
I know I'm pausing this a lot, I'm really sorry. So she's saying that a woman who's a whore, who, for example, may cheat or sleep around or whatever, the man is allowed to demand that out of the relationship. And yet she also, in her podcast, has said, well, you can't expect men not to cheat. What? So you don't expect that both people should have the same standards? If the man is allowed to sleep around, the woman should be allowed to sleep around. If the man is demanding commitment from the other person, then the woman in the relationship should also be allowed to demand commitment in that relationship.
I think we know what she means by that.
No,
Whore?
Yeah. No. But let's talk. What does that mean? Because
Sleeping. Okay, I met one girl. She told me this was off camera.
She didn't tell you this on camera, but you're now going to quote this on camera, while also later saying anyone should not turn around and say if they have been essayed or any sort of assault, if they haven't pressed charges, because otherwise basically it's just gossip and it could ruin people. Could literally ruin this person because she's now creating rumours and gossip. I appreciate she's not naming the person, well fucking done for like bare minimums, but is this not the same bullshit?
Girl, because we had a pro-life show. Girls had 7 abortions.
wow.
7. She's like 28. It's like madness.
Like, you do not know the fucking circumstances of each one of those abortions. Birth control can fail. It could be due to the fact that she's tried to get pregnant and she's had to have a forced abortion because the pregnancy failed. She didn't want to get, is it sepsis? Like, you do not know the circumstances around those abortions. So shut the fuck up.
Like, you can't tell me that's not madness.
I had 3 by the time I was 24. Does that make me a whore? I had only ever been with 3 people at the time. Does that make me a fucking whore? Shut up. You do not know the circumstances.
Right.
And so we're just in this world where it's like girls are doing this crazy stuff. And if anyone has anything to say about it, we're the bad guys.
Also be due to the fact that, especially in America, for example, which I assume is where, considering Pearl is American, I'm assuming this is where this conversation took place. Could it be due to the fact that sexual education is taught so badly in America, the person didn't know where to get the morning after pill or what the best birth control was? Maybe she wasn't comfortable in having those conversations with her doctor or her parent or even the person she was physically fucking with at the time. Because the amount of men that don't even consider the fact that they should condom up if they don't want to have a fucking kid just because, oh, well, I don't really like the feeling of condoms. Let's just put all the onus on the fucking woman. I've been literally watching this for 2 minutes and I'm already getting fucking angry.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because I think a lot of people, including a lot of women, would be like, you've had 7 abortions. I mean, even if you're pro-choice.
I don't have a problem with the person having 7 abortions at all. The only thing I would say is that after so many abortions, that can really affect you possibly conceiving. It can also have a detriment to your uterus. So it is worth discussing with your doctor if you have had so many abortions, because it can have effects later in your life, and therefore you need to discuss whether it's the implant in your arm or an IUD or, you know, other forms of contraception, because maybe the contraception she was using, if she was using any, didn't work. Maybe she was expecting that the guy was using a condom, maybe he took it off halfway through and she didn't realise. Hey, sweetie. Maybe the condoms broke. That's what I'm saying. You literally do not know the reasons for any of these abortions, and you are assuming, hello.
You'd sort of not be on board with that, most people.
You would be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Well, you think a lot of people are on board with that?
Maybe not on board, but like legally.
So what you're saying, that it should be illegal to have 7 abortions? This is the thing. People are pro-life until they have to look after that life. Because someone who has conceived a child and they want to get rid of it, and you're saying that you're not allowed to get rid of it. A child is not a fucking punishment. Do not punish a fucking child. Do not bring a child into this world that is already not wanted. Don't do it. We are already overpopulated. It is so disgusting that that is considered the reason to force women to have these children.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So here it's free.
Yeah, here it's also fucking legal. America, it is now illegal in some states. So you are literally taking healthcare away from women and then blaming them for getting pregnant, while also not even educating people properly.
And do you think that these particular women don't take responsibility for their actions? Do you think it's society?
Why would, it's like we live in a world where women are bailed out of every single bad decision we make.
Again, how do you know what any of the circumstances are of abortions? Abortions can be for medical requirements due to failure of a pregnancy. They can be due to incest and rape. There are so many fucking reasons, and it's not just because women just need to be responsible for their fucking actions. Because also, can we stop pretending that it wasn't two people, if it is consensual sex, that made that decision to have sex?
If we want to sleep around, there's birth control. If birth control doesn't work, there's abortion. If the girl does get pregnant and wants to keep it, she can put the dude on child support.
Yes, because it takes two people to make a fucking child.
And not let him see the kids. Like, a guy gets 6 days a month, maybe, if he's lucky. On top of that, if that doesn't go well, they can give it up for adoption. It's like women are always bailed out of every bad decision we make. I heard here they gave you free housing if you're a single mother.
So we shouldn't prioritize people who have children who cannot home themselves. It's like she's literally saying we should punish women for having uteruses and therefore getting pregnant.
What incentive do we have to make good decisions if we get free shit from the government for making bad decisions?
Then blame the system, don't blame the fucking person. Blame the government for making that available. If you're so against it, that's like saying, well, people who don't work get so much money from job seekers and all these sort of like things to help people that don't have money. That's like saying that we give way too much money out to people who otherwise would be homeless. What a privileged little fucking life she must lead.
It's a good point, but then surely isn't the system at fault rather than the individual, Pearl?
Thank you.
I mean, I think the system's at fault for like allowing them to do that, but I mean, I think your life is your own fault.
Yeah.
So if you can't tell me a girl had 7 abortions, that's not her fault.
I think I'm just going to try and get past this point because I feel like I could harbour on the fact that she's just being misogynistic to anybody who's a fucking woman or anyone who has a uterus. Let's just get past this and get to the next one, because we've been on the same question for probably like 20 minutes.
Do you just grab people off the street?
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's hell. Recruiting is hell.
Could recruiting be held due to the fact that she has very polarizing opinions and therefore maybe people don't want to be associated with her podcast? Could it have something to do with that?
Because this one girl was trying to say that a guy that likes younger women was a pedophile. And I was just like, now I wasn't talking about underage women, okay? Yeah. I'd like to don't clip me, don't do that.
Like, there are differentiating terms for pedophilia. There's like hebephile and things like that. I heard a joke about it saying that the reason people don't use those differentiations is because it's so hard to say that without sounding like a pedophile. So there are literal different definitions. People who only like people who have only just become legal, there is a specific term for that. And that's probably the sort of age range she's talking about.
And I was just like, no, like that's just natural. That's what men naturally want younger women.
To a point can be correct, because younger, between 20 and 30, the easiest time to get pregnant. As you get older, it gets harder to get pregnant. In that specific term, however, it doesn't mean that people are not attracted to people in their 30s or in their 40s. Men can be attracted to people of all fucking ages. I mean, I guarantee if a guy were to look at, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson, Charlize Theron, loads of different men are attracted to lots of different age ranges. It doesn't always have to do with, oh, well, she's young, so she'll be the best fit for me.
You said you were dunking on your own teammates too hard, so they've left, right?
Some of them came back.
Their opinions were being, like, because she has a habit of speaking over anybody else. She'll ask a question, she's not getting the answers she wants, so she will talk over them. But yeah, do you think maybe that their opinions weren't being objectively heard, or do you think that maybe they felt like they were being talked down to so much that they thought, you know what, this is a really toxic environment, I don't want to fucking work here anymore? Maybe it had something to do with that.
I've had a lot of girls come back and say they changed their opinions after coming on my show, actually. That they see the world in a completely different way. But I would say the majority hate me.
The majority of the women that guests that go onto your podcast may hate you due to the fact that you speak over them, you diminish any of their opinions if they differ from yours, that they're stupid or meaningless, or I just don't disagree because that's dumb. And the reason they may dislike you is due to the fact that you have a lot of internalized misogyny that I genuinely think that you need to go to a therapist about.
Let's give some examples. Like, what do you mean by that? Is it?
It's like whenever. Okay. So when I started doing the show, girls would come forward and they would say like, I was abused.
Here we go. This is one of the parts that made me so fucking angry. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And my first response as like a person is I believe them.
Of course you believe someone when they say they've been abused, because the majority of cases of the fake report of assault or abuse is so minimal that of course you are going to believe someone. Someone is trying to confide in you that they have been abused by their partner. You could be one of the first people they ever confide in.
Mm-hmm. Right? And I think, you have empathy, right?
Like, you would think you had empathy, but the way you talk about this in a second.
But then you find out that they didn't press any charges against the guy. So you're coming on a platform and you're saying, I was afraid to press charges, but you're not afraid to talk on my show. And this has happened multiple times.
Okay. So, do I think it's wrong that if you don't press charges against somebody, you shouldn't name them? I have mixed feelings about that, but I semi-agree. I do not think that you cannot turn around and say that you were abused or assaulted by somebody. For example, I've spoken about my abuse in a previous relationship and my essay, but I will never name the person. One of the reasons I never went to the police is because I didn't know that coerced sex is sexual assault at the age of 16. I didn't know. And I didn't know until 4-5 years later. I didn't recognise at such a young age the abuse that I endured during that relationship was verbal and mental abuse. I didn't recognise it as such. There are some people that are so Stockholm syndromed, they cannot recognise the abuse and the assaults they are enduring. It also can be due to age, like I say. Some people are assaulted when they're much, much younger, unfortunately, by family members, by family friends, by their own friends. And they don't recognise it at the time as assault because they don't know any better. And the thing is as well, it takes time to have this strength to come forward about any such cases, and to diminish it that it is your fault for not coming forward and not pressing any charges is so incredibly fucking damaging. I do think in a way that name and shaming someone if you do not press charges could be character assassination. However, saying that you should never speak about any assault whatsoever or any abuse whatsoever in any relationship without naming is incredibly, incredibly damaging to the Me Too movement. If you want to say anything like that in my comment section, you'll be deleted and you'll be blocked.
I would ask the question, he hit you, okay, did you hit him first? And more often than not, they would hit first.
Okay, now we're getting into the abuse part. She's saying that if you as a woman hit a man, you deserve everything that's coming to you. No. Do I think that women should be able to hit men? No. That is assault. Plain and simple. However, can we just talk about the fact that 90% of relationships, the man is going to be bigger than the woman, at least stronger than the woman, majority. So therefore, a woman, for example, punching a man in the shoulder, in the arm, in the face, not that any of that's okay. If a man does that, it's going to be so much more fucking damaging. And I think they talk about it in this situation.
Yeah, but what about if she hit first and then it escalated and as a result of that, she was severely beaten? That surely should be able to press charges because the level of violence is disproportionate to the situation.
If you hit the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson first and then he beat the shit out of you.
Well, it depends. If you give him brain damage, I think it probably could press charges.
Yeah,
and so on,
absolutely, because it'd be grievous bodily harm. It's self-defense, Pearl. It's self-defense. If you attack me, I'm allowed to defend myself, but then it comes a point where I'm no longer defending myself and I become the aggressor.
Approving any violence, again, very, very damaging.
Now we're having cases where men are dying from women, like in Florida, where that OnlyFans model, did you guys hear about that?
No.
There was an OnlyFans model who killed her boyfriend. And at first they thought it was like a mutually abusive relationship. Now CCTV footage, I don't know if it's called the same thing there, but elevator footage has come out and it's of her like literally beating the shit out of him.
Okay, acting like now there's cases of men dying from women diminishes all of the female on male violence, pretending that a man can't get sexually assaulted or abused or violated by a woman and that it's only just started happening, again, is very fucking damaging. This is why men don't come forward. They end up getting killed. They have these sort of really toxic, abusive relationships because they think that they won't be believed because, well, they're a man and they should be strong enough against the woman, not realizing that they have been manipulated and narcissistically and mentally abused for likely years. I 100% see it both sides, and I think she's damaging to both.
The reality is, I can hit harder than the vast majority of women and cause more damage.
Yeah, so then it's on the women to not hit the men. Why does she
It's
get
not
it?
a bad thing to teach your son. However, there are exceptions. So this is what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Imagine you're walking down the street with your girlfriend, and a woman runs over and starts beating up your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Never hit a woman?
I would physically restrain her, and I would.
What if she started beating you up?
Because in most cases, women are going to be fucking weaker than the man.
What if she had a
You
knife?
couldn't restrain her.
What happens if she had a knife?
Or a stick, or a fucking...
Okay, right, okay. Then in that case,
Or a
yes.
Well, if someone has a knife or a stick or something like that, fucking, like, get yourself out of this situation, because it's just going to become more and more damaging. And a fist isn't going to do shit against a fucking knife. Can we just not pretend that those are similar?
So
we've had a bunch of feminists on the show, and I can hear their voices in my head right now.
Yeah.
And here's what they would say. They would say, look, if you look at the statistics, a woman is much more likely to be killed or raped or whatever by her own partner. So the biggest threat to a woman is the man that she's living with, right? Women are way more likely to be...
Men are more likely to be victims of a violent crime.
Okay, he was literally about to make a really, really good point of that women are more likely to be harassed, abused, assaulted by someone they actually already know. Can we also, like, I've seen this on a TikTok recently, and this has been popping up a lot. I go to the cinema every weekend now. This is actually a new advert that's shown male violence against women starts with words. Every single woman, I don't care who you are, every single woman from the age of maybe like minimum 16 has at least once been verbally harassed by a man. Every single woman. I don't know a single person who hasn't, and it's happened to me multiple times. It's happened to my friends multiple times. Every single person has been verbally harassed by a man at least once, and that is where it fucking starts. So he was literally just about to say such a valid fucking point, and immediately she turns around and says that, oh, but men have it bad because of this as well. Can we not just say that both of us have it fucking bad? Can we not minimize violence against women by saying that, well, men have violence against men? Why can't they both be valid? One is not worse or better than the other, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Who cares who's the perpetrator?
Yeah.
If men are more likely to be victims of... Because
So they're saying men are more likely to be victims of violent crime. Is that due to the fact that they get in more male-to-male fights because of some stupid bullshit due to, for example, football or in a bar or some shit?
then they'll always say, oh, well, I can't walk home alone at night. I got attacked by a whale because of that statement.
Do you know how many women have been, again, verbally harassed on the way home, who have felt unsafe due to walking home alone late at night? You could be assaulted, you could be sexually assaulted, you could be robbed. Also, calling someone a whale just because they're bigger than you, just like, that is fatphobic.
Do you not think, though, that if we live in a society where we have what biologists call sexual dimorphism, like men are different to women physically, right? Men are bigger, stronger, etc. Because women are physically, on average, less able to protect themselves, we should have some sort of extra care. I'm not saying, never hit a woman, because I can envisage a situation where in self-defense or whatever, that may happen. But we have to teach men to be extra careful with the strength that they have, particularly when they're dealing with women.
It's a perfect point. Let's see how she minimizes it.
I think we should teach the women not to hit someone stronger than them. Like, I don't understand. Why do we put it on the men? Put it on the women. Don't hit, like, you should teach the women, don't hit anyone if you don't expect to get hit back.
I agree with that.
And I don't think anyone should be able to press charges on a guy. If she hit first, she started it.
He literally just said, you may feel like it's necessary in self-defense, but you shouldn't go out of your way to harm a woman because you are physically going to be... I can't at this point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just genuinely believe that you should not hit someone and not expect to get hit back. That's my opinion on it.
There is a logic to that.
And I just don't think you can really play the victim if you hit first. Like, you hit first.
She doesn't live anywhere in the grey whatsoever. Apparently, she only sees things in black and white. I hope none of these things ever fucking happen to her, because she will never be able to deal with it mentally.
Things that you talk to people on the show about?
Like, one thing is that men shouldn't sleep with so many women.
Okay, here comes the misogyny.
and they'll say like men are responsible for all the whores, you know? But I really think it's on the whores for being whores.
It's a proportionate thing, right? If a man is sleeping with 100 women a year, for example, where is he finding those 100 women? If we're saying that, oh, well, women shouldn't be whores, well, then men shouldn't act like fucking whores either. It goes both ways. Like, you cannot have a standard for a woman that is not the same standard for a man. That is literal misogyny.
No, I'm serious. It's like, well, they'll be like, well, if the men weren't sleeping around, but it's like, okay, what percent of men can sleep around?
Right.
1 out of 3 men are sexless. So by this logic, like it's more on the women than the men, but it's like, then they put it on the small percentage of men that are sleeping around.
It's literally on both of them. You cannot call women whores and say that, well, men are just bachelors or some bullshit. You're saying that people that sleep around in general are whores, then men are whores as well. I don't think that for either. I'm just saying, if you're going to put that as the standard for the definition of a fucking whore, then men are whores as well.
I think it's 100% the woman's fault if you get pregnant.
100%. 100%. 100% the woman's fault for getting pregnant. Because men can't wear fucking condoms. You know, a lot of men actually refuse to wear condoms or make a big fucking deal about wearing condoms. She may not know. I've heard that a lot. Not just from me. Like, not just literal my experience, because it has happened. Men have turned around and said, oh, I don't really want to wear one. It doesn't really feel as good. Okay, well then, if I get pregnant, this is also on you. Any reasoning for this is just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Why?
100%. Because we have 41 forms of birth control. And
what if birth control fails?
Condoms. Because the man only has one choice. I guess you could do 2 vasectomies. Condom, no condom.
Okay. So she's saying that we have 41 forms of birth control, and if they fail, we should have been using a condom. But also turns around and says, well, men only have the choice of a condom or no condom. The irony in that statement alone is just complete stupidity. It is hurting my brain to even form how she thinks that she has a point. Okay, I don't know how it is in other countries, but for example, when I learned sex ed in school, you were told the best way to ensure you are fully protected, or as protected as you physically can be, is to ensure that the woman is on some form of birth control and that the man uses a condom. Every fucking time. Because also, it ensures
people on the show about?
Like, one thing is that men shouldn't sleep with so many women.
Okay, here comes the misogyny.
And they'll say like men are responsible for all the whores, you know? But I really think it's on the whores for being whores.
It's a proportionate thing, right? If a man is sleeping with 100 women a year, for example, where is he finding those 100 women? If we're saying that, oh, well, women shouldn't be whores, well, then men shouldn't act like fucking whores either. It goes both ways. Like, you cannot have a standard for a woman that is not the same standard for a man. That is literal misogyny.
No, I'm serious. It's like, well, they'll be like, well, if the men weren't sleeping around, but it's like, okay, what percent of men can sleep around?
Right.
1 out of 3 men are sexless. So by this logic, like it's more on the women than the men, but it's like, then they put it on the small percentage of men that are sleeping around.
It's literally on both of them. You cannot call women whores and say that, well, men are just bachelors or some bullshit. You're saying that people that sleep around in general are whores, then men are whores as well. I don't think that for either. I'm just saying, if you're going to put that as the standard for the definition of a fucking whore, then men are whores as well.
I think it's 100% the woman's fault if you get pregnant.
100%. 100%. 100% the woman's fault for getting pregnant. Because men can't wear fucking condoms. You know, a lot of men actually refuse to wear condoms or make a big fucking deal about wearing condoms. She may not know. I've heard that a lot. Not just from me. Like, not just literal my experience, because it has happened. Men have turned around and said, oh, I don't really want to wear one. It doesn't really feel as good. Okay, well then, if I get pregnant, this is also on you. Any reasoning for this is just bullshit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Why?
100%. Because we have 41 forms of birth control. And
what if birth control fails?
Condoms. Because the man only has one choice. I guess you could do 2 vasectomies. Condom, no condom.
Okay. So she's saying that we have 41 forms of birth control, and if they fail, we should have been using a condom. But also turns around and says, well, men only have the choice of a condom or no condom. The irony in that statement alone is just complete stupidity. It is hurting my brain to even form how she thinks that she has a point. Okay, I don't know how it is in other countries, but for example, when I learned sex ed in school, you were told the best way to ensure you are fully protected, or as protected as you physically can be, is to ensure that the woman is on some form of birth control and the man uses a condom. Every fucking time. Because also, it ensures...
And if they don't do this, they're fined $100,000. Is that equal? Is that fair? Where we have the same rights, but we don't have the same responsibilities if shit goes south?
Again, how about blame the system then and not blame just women in general?
I don't think that's fair. So I thought about it. Would I want to be in selective service if I had to pick? My answer is no. No, I will give up the right to vote to not have to do that. And I think that would be fair. I think feminists, they want equality, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with it. I think the outcomes would be better.
So are we going to pretend like all the atrocities that happened when men, the only people allowed to vote, didn't happen? Enslavement of black people, the wars.
The issue in the UK is that men only get custody of their kids 10% of the time. Would you agree that's crazy?
Yes.
On custody, I don't really know enough about it. However, what I do know is that a infant, for their development, is better off being with the mother at such a young age due to breastfeeding and childcare, etc.
As someone who has a young child, they're way better off with their mother on average.
Under the age of 8. Over the age of 8, the kids have better outcomes with the father. Single father homes have significantly better outcomes than single
Under their
mother.
age of 8, though, they need their mother.
True.
If the child is over a certain age, the boys are better off being brought up by their father figure, for example. Vice versa for young girls to have the mother be the sole caregiver. So it's very dependent on every single...
But it's all case specific, because if the mother is a psycho, then no. And if the father is abusive, then no, right?
Or has addiction issues or whatever.
Case. Also, if there's been abuse in the relationship, whoever has been abusive, that person should never, ever, ever get soul care. Again, pretending that the world is black and fucking white can literally just destroy lives.
There's a lot of counter arguments to what you're saying, but wouldn't one of them be that we lived in a society in which, because men were the ones that had the vote, and by the way, actually men mostly didn't have the vote for quite a long time as well, it was just rich men, but
I would be okay with that too.
yeah, I can tell.
If she's okay with that, she should be okay with how the UK is currently being run, because the only people that were able to even vote for the current party leader of the Tory party were fucking rich people, or people who at least paid for Tory membership. I can't fucking remember the exact name of it. The people that are most benefiting currently from all of the current crises, rich people. So saying that she would be okay with rich people being the only people able to vote rather than any poor men, what is wrong with you? The rich are like the top 1 to 5% of the country. So you're saying that 95% of the country, and that's not even including the fact that there are women within the 1 to 5% of the richest people in the country that also wouldn't even be included. So really we're talking about, say for example, more like 97.5% of the country should not be allowed to vote because they are not rich enough or they're not men.
I just feel like, why do you get a say in something you're not paying into? Men pay into it way more than women do.
I mean, women now earn more, particularly young women, than young men.
This is the worst statement she could have said, and we still haven't even got into the race issue yet.
How do you mean?
Like, why do we want to be in, like, you should have the same opinions. You should be voting for the same person as your husband.
Why?
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 Again, this is so internally misogynized. I cannot fucking believe this bullshit. So differing opinions is not allowed in a relationship now. Like, for example, my partner and I had different votes for Brexit. I've had differing opinions with my last partner towards Trump. If I knew that beforehand, I don't think I would have even given them the time of day.
Better for the family unit if everyone's on the same page. Like, I don't know, you want to be in a house where you're arguing about politics?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want someone who thinks differently to me.
I mean, that's fine. I just think, like, I just prefer more traditional relationships. So I just prefer relationships where you're submitting to your husband's authority.
If you want to live in this sort of 1950s relationship, you do you. It sounds like an extremely dominant versus submissive relationship. Like, some couples just want to be equals. They want to be able to have proper conversations. You don't have to have a confrontation to have debates between you.
Pearl, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
There's a combination of things going on here. Is there a part of you that's saying them in the way that you're saying them because you're being a bit of a troll? Yeah.
There's this microaggression of a smirk where it's narcissistic, that she knows that she's going to get a reaction from saying such polarizing views. We see this bullshit all over her podcast, okay? She is being a troll. She's just trying to get a reaction. She's the Trisha Paytas, I swear, of misogynistic Andrew Tate incels.
Are you saying things in a more incendiary, inflammatory way because you know that gets attention?
You mean like calling women whales?
Yes.
No, I just think it's funny. Oh, okay, I need to say this.
All right.
The
Okay,
men
go.
whales accept their outcomes. They don't complain. You're telling me there's a whole body positive movement.
For
There's
men,
a whole
no.
Could that be due to the fact that women are looked at as objects consistently from a young age, and we've been told from a very young age to basically think that our bodies are disproportionate or disgusting, or we should be skinnier or taller or have curly hair or longer hair, or we are consistently told from a young age that we shouldn't look the way we look.
He's a bit miserable now because he doesn't get to eat the food that he likes, but he's healthy, right? I don't think if Frances was female, it would be in any way acceptable for me to sit here and joke about that and for us to have that kind of banter.
Yeah, she couldn't take it.
And therefore, that is why men are more likely to laugh off something that could be extremely emotionally damaging to the person who is on the receiving end of it. Because we've been told shit like this since we were young. I have literally thought that my thighs were too big since I was 12 years old. And now I'm basically told from every man that I ever meet that my thighs and my bum are like their favourite fucking features, because curvy women are more acceptable to men than women. Women are looked at in magazines and stuff to be skinny, to be size 2 or 0 or whatever.
Okay, that's interesting. So that being the case, we can all agree that America is right-leaning, more right-leaning than the UK.
Yeah, yeah.
So
right.
so why the UK then, Pearl, as opposed to America?
Oh, I'll tell you why. So I didn't mean to end up here.
Good, can she fuck off then? If she didn't mean to live in the UK, can she go back to America then, where she has less rights than she does in the UK?
So I kind of accidentally ended up here, but I am gonna leave eventually.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why. I don't think your opinions are that widely shared in this country.
No, they love me here.
Appreciate it, because maybe then she'd have different views where she actually has choices in the UK versus those choices, trans rights, abortion, all these things are actively being looked at to be revoked in America. Why don't she go back over there to where she thinks it's more right-leaning and therefore she would be happier?
However, there's something even more triggering that I do have to ask you about, because in between the time that we booked you to come on the show and you actually coming on the show, you had a guy called Nick Fuentes that you interviewed.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah. And then you did an interview with this guy. Like, this is not a guy we would ever have on because he's a racist, Holocaust denying piece of shit as far as I'm concerned.
So I know nothing about Nick Fuentes, but if he is a racist, and I only just read up about Holocaust deniers yesterday actually, and I was astounded. How can you fucking deny something happened when there is photo evidence, physical evidence that Auschwitz gas chambers are still there today for you to go and visit and see the atrocities that occurred? I've been to recently, a few months ago actually, went to a exhibition where it showed a lot of photos from Auschwitz at the time, and it was incredibly heavy to walk around there and see those. So for anyone who denies that happened, I literally am speechless. And to allow somebody like that with such damaging views onto your podcast is a choice.
I did not find Nick to be racist. My staff actually did not find him to be racist.
Wait, he was talking to an Italian girl next to you and saying that she shouldn't have a black boyfriend or something along those lines.
He doesn't believe in... See,
Okay, so I assume she was about to say he doesn't believe in interracial marriage. That in of itself is racist. Her and her staff did not find him to be racist. She as a white woman didn't find another white man to be racist.
I don't really want to go into like the race mixing stuff too much.
No, but you just said he wasn't being racist, and I watched him be racist on your show.
Well, I mean, to me, he says the same things that like like, there's a lot of people that think like that when.
But doesn't make it less racist just because other people think it.
Thank you. Pretending that, oh, well, lots of people think this way and therefore that is not racist means there is a lot of fucking racist people. Don't understand what that fucking argument was.
You'd have to watch the full thing, but was like being a bit like combative to him. And to me, he was just like kidding. But yeah,
He did say, I am a bit racist, even in that. And in fact, in your apology, you said that he said racist things.
Even if you're a bit racist, you're racist. So he was self-admitted racist, that he had self-admitted racist thoughts, but she's still trying to defend him, likely due to the fact she also considers and thinks the same way he does, and therefore if she admits he's racist for those thoughts, she would in turn be racist as well.
He was really polite. He showed up on time. Like,
Pretending that because he was polite and showed up on time makes him not racist is a ridiculous statement. Like, for all of the statements that she has said throughout this whole video, the standard of, well, because he was polite and on time means he cannot have been racist, even though he said racist things and admitted he was a bit racist.
So it's like, how is he a white supremacist?
No, he's allowed to date who he wants,
Yeah.
but him telling your Italian friend she shouldn't be dating a black man, that's the racist part, don't you think?
Like, does she not hear herself?
Okay, but that doesn't change whether it's racist or not, right? But what I'm getting
Do you think it's racist to, like, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Perfectly put. She's one of those type of people that doesn't listen to your answer, and she's just going to continue with her thought process and her opinion and ignore everything you said. Even if it's a perfectly executed point, she's going to ignore it because she literally just does it here.
I just think people are allowed to have their opinions. So if he has crazy opinions, let him have his opinions. And I think he should be allowed to talk about it on a podcast.
But isn't it also the duty, Pearl, of the person interviewing them to push back on those opinions when they come up?
Basically, what was the point of having someone on that was so controversial if you are not going to have that debate? Her podcast is about having debates with people who have differing opinions. From the sounds of it, is that she allowed this person saying openly racist things and openly denying the Holocaust. It is your duty as the interviewer of that podcast to push back with such questions and to just, I assume, but from what they're saying, she didn't even try to debate him about it. And all she did was allow him a platform to say harmful opinion.
You know, when you were talking about the Holocaust with him, he was saying it's like slavery, it got embellished, and you were sort of going, I can see your point. And that's what I found a bit confusing, because then in your apology you said, well, I wasn't really educated on these things. But it sounds like you're kind of taking that back now.
So sorry, she was saying that she agreed or understood his point. The people who were in these concentration camps, they think they were treated as slaves and not thousands, millions killed. And it just got out of hand. What?
But part of it is also when you bring someone on, you can't also ignore that element of it. Do you see what I mean?
I don't agree that the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yeah, no,
That's reassuring.
No, I didn't.
Well, you did say, so it's kind of like slavery, it's been embellished.
I was talking about how people use atrocities to control people, and I was quoting Thomas Sowell.
What do you think your responsibility is when you bring on controversial guests onto the show? Do you have any responsibility? What do you believe?
For the guests?
No, not for the guests. For the content that you put out, Pearl.
Yeah, I'm responsible for all the content I put out.
Well, at least she said she's responsible for all the content that she puts out. So she's basically agreeing that if something was harmful that was said, it's her responsibility. At least we have her admitting to that. Okay, so that's the whole interview. I think that she reiterated a number of points multiple times. Every time she was challenged with something, she didn't have a specific almost quote or bumper sticker sort of thing to say immediately back. She went back to her original points, or she would go off on a tangent about some sort of random story. I did skip through a couple of those stories. It was just going over the same points over and over again, like the women not having the right to vote, men not getting custody of their kids. I don't think it was a bad interview. I think they had some really good points. I do think they missed a couple of key points as well, though. I think that Pearl wants a reaction. She says these polarizing things in a way to get a reaction. I really don't want to believe that she is this misogynistically opinioned, because it's harmful. I genuinely think it's harmful to women. Then we shouldn't have the right to vote because we're emotional. and we have different thoughts and emotions from day to day. Everyone changes their opinions. We're humans. We are not perfect beings. I think she puts a lot of emphasis on men and not on us all being treated the same. Things are not black and white, but we live in the grey. We consistently live in the grey. I don't even know how I would have a discussion with her, because she seems exhausting. Because like I say, she doesn't listen to the other person's opinion or point of view. She doesn't want to discuss your point of view. She just wants to reiterate hers. Anyway, I'm going to leave this here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give this a like and subscribe if you feel like it. I really appreciate it. The next video I want to do is around the timeline between Jaclyn Hill and Marlena Stell, the whole makeup geek, to her recent statement on Reddit. Make sure to subscribe for that. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!